exactly legal, but it is exactly awesome!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the FUNSMITHS. This is me. I am Viktor Pradley, and that is GrandJason.
Welcome, guys, to episode 15. Oh, sparkle fingers. Jazz hands.
We didn't prepare that one. We just did it on demand.
It just happened to be convenient because it's a multiple of 5. You can't screw that up.
Yeah, well, took us 3 weeks to get it right, but there you go. Alright, welcome to the show. How nice to have you here, like every other week that you're here.
Yeah, except for that 1 week where I wasn't here. and you got a guy with a much superior chin to come in.
Oh, don't be jealous. It's a fun and friendly time out here.
I ain't jealous of his chiseled chin that gets older ladies.
I would be. That's a pretty nice chin. Anyway, we are back again. This is the FUNSMITHS. We are the Legends of Runeterra podcast that you should definitely be listening to. Not those other guys. We're better than all those other guys.
Yeah, and you guys should subscribe, because most viewers from our analytics that we've checked are not subscribed. So if you're viewing this, why not subscribe? It's free, right? What do you got to lose?
Yeah. And also, you should join my Discord server, where we can send each other funny memes about video games and maybe even movies and things that I just kind of enjoy. It's a fun time in there. You should come and hang out.
Yeah, because it's not like he's got anything better to do these days. Good old Corona quarantine. Oh yeah, we're getting these massive triple-digit daily coronaviruses. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's crazy out here. We're in lockdown, and we are still getting hammered with cases.
Yeah. I wonder if we can hit 4 digits. Get over 1,000.
Oh my god.
If that happens, expect to see a lot more content from the Victor show.
Oh, definitely. With all the extra time I have. If we go to stage 4, I won't be able to go to work.
Yep. You mean you don't have to go to work?
Well, I do 3 days a week, and then I do the podcast 1 day a week. I might stream 2 or 3 days a week. And I've started editing videos for another channel. And I'm supposed to be writing my second book. But I haven't really been doing that. So I've been keeping busy. And you work from home. So
I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally makes no difference to me. I don't get out. I ain't got time or money for that.
So I don't know. I'm keeping busy. Trying to anyway.
Yeah.
I do more at home than I do at work at the moment.
Yeah.
We've been cleaning the whole venue, and we cleaned way more of the venue than we were expected to clean in the time we cleaned it. And the big bosses come in and we're like, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, we got nothing else for you. So I guess now we just sit around and watch movies, which is what it was originally.
Wait, at work?
Yeah, work.
Oh, shit, okay.
Because we do takeaways, but then to try and keep ourselves occupied, we have to find things to clean around the venue and make it nice and shiny and sparkly.
You should teach some of your coworkers how to play Legends of Runeterra.
I keep trying to drag people into Runeterra, and looks like no one wants to bite on it. It's like that time when I started playing SWTOR, and I was just trying to get people to play SWTOR with me, and no one would do it. Maybe
That's Star Wars: The Old Republic, for people who don't know.
I had just started playing that again before the Spirit Blossom event started, and I just dropped it straight away. This Spirit Blossom event, man. I am something like 205 petals in.
Yeah, I'm almost exactly half that. I'm like 115 or something, yeah.
And
yes.
There's still 70 more to go, which is it's like a little less, it's like a bit less than 70 wins to finish it off. until these additional epic quests come along.
Yeah. To be honest, like this whole Spirit Blossom like event thing it's kind of hard to understand. People kind of really didn't know how to get the Spirit Blossom and stuff, right? You just complete quests and shit. But then you run out of quests and then it's like, oh, what do I do now? You just have to grind it the slow way by playing games every day.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and you have to win to get Spirit Blossoms. You can't lose. So all these bad players are like, oh man, it takes me forever to grind up Spirit Blossoms because I'm bad.
And they don't give you like additional petals if it's in ranked or anything like that. It just doesn't matter. You play, it's all the same. And I don't know. This takes forever. You what? Like, Dolu Win, you get like 4 petals.
Yay!
It's kind of like how this game really slows down on the XP after you do your daily quests.
Yeah, that's free to play model, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm still not even sold on if I want to get this event ticket or pack or whatever.
You don't even have the event pass.
No, I don't even have it.
Oh.
I'm just grinding up for that free Spirit Blossom card back. I don't care about the rest.
Oh.
If I do get the pass, it's just to collect those free green shards.
The green shards are pretty good.
Yeah.
I have a truckload of shards just waiting for the next expansion. Now every time I open crates every week, it's just shards every single time because it's very unlikely for me to get a card I don't already own.
Yeah. Like I'm at the point where I think I can just instantly craft all the rest of the commons and uncommons that I don't have, the uncommons and rares I don't have. But it's not worth doing that because you get less shards if they convert to shards. So you don't. So the key to shard economics here is I think I did the maths right. Like I think you only get a quarter of as many shards for a card than it costs to create, right? So like I think creating a rare card costs you 100 shards, but it only gives you like 25 or 40 shards or something. You get like so if you open up a pack, yeah, you get just very little shards for it. If you already got the card. So like yeah, don't create cards if you don't need them. Yeah.
Yeah, don't just go through and like fill up your collection with shards.
Yeah, because then yeah, like it really slows down the shard creation. Yeah, so that's how free to play games get you, man. They test your ability to hold back temptation and to have patience. If you are an impatient person, don't play free to play games. You will lose so much money. You know, just buy some games, an MMO or something, get the collector's edition or something, all right, and then not have to pay again. You know, free to play games are not for people that don't have patience. Yeah, but we do thank you for your contribution and paying off the service for all of us to play on. Yeah, man. Every game needs whales, man. Like, yeah, man, and like whales. Okay, the term whale almost seems a little bit derogatory, man.
It does.
Like,
it really does.
Yeah, like if you're going to like, because technically whales are your most valuable customers, right? Yeah. So if anything, there's like the term for whales should be way more prestigious. Like, I don't know, like elite sponsors or no, not elite sponsors. Like, I don't know, executive supporters or something. Yeah, something like that. Or like, yeah, you know, there should be a term that sounds cool that makes people want to be whales.
The major contributors.
Yeah, or something like that, or like elite tier or something, or yeah, premium supporters. And then yeah, you can join the premium supporter club. Yeah.
I haven't spent nearly as much money on this game as I have for League of Legends. I reckon I've dumped thousands into League of Legends. And I don't mean like tens of thousands. I mean more like 3,000 or 4,000 maybe in total.
Oh, really? Okay.
I spent a shitload of money on League of Legends over the years. But I mean, fuck man. I mean, like almost playing a game for like 10 years. You know, You got a lot of fucking runtime out of that game. And I still pop on to play it sometimes now. Runeterra just doesn't really have anything worth spending the money on.
Because, it really doesn't. Like, because your interaction with each individual card is so low, the amount that you care about the customizability of each one of those particular things isn't that high. Like, if you're playing a champion, you have to... Your eyes are basically on that champion for the entire game, right? So it makes sense to get some sort of customization for that one particular character, right? Because in a way, it's almost a representation of you, or like your avatar or whatever, right? So it makes sense to spend the $8 to $10 to give it a nice skin or something, right?
Yeah.
So you feel a little bit cool inside. It's like, yeah, it can define your like personality inside the character, right? But as for like card games, I think that's one of the biggest issues with like the monetization of them is that I don't think any online card game has really quite figured out how to effectively make interesting cosmetics that are like personalized cosmetics for like digital card games, right? Most of these card games like Magic Arena and like Hearthstone, you can craft a gold variant of the card or a foil variant of the card, which basically is like the same card, but like has some filters over it. Yeah, has some filters over it, or is a little bit shinier, or in Magic's case, you can have full art. Ooh, full art, where the art bleeds into the edge of the card as opposed to into the border. Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, those are really low expense ways to do it, because you don't have to create any new art assets. You just, shuffle it around a little bit, right? But yeah, so how to make card games more defined and more personalized, right? Yeah, to an individual's like personality, and that's kind of the issue.
I think the other thing working against it is that like there are people in League of Legends who will just sit there and play like one champion non-stop any season, doesn't matter how good that champion is, or like a small group of characters, and people love that small group of characters that they play a lot, and anytime a new skin or anything comes out related to that character, they just have to have it. Decks are coming and going all the time, and quickly. Like a deck that's good one week sometimes isn't good the next week, and then everyone drops it and then picks up the next deck. It's a much different environment in card games. There aren't a lot of people who are just like, oh, I just absolutely have to play this particular deck all the time, or this particular champion in this strategy every single time, no matter the patch, no matter the meta. A lot of the time, like, you'll be, like, when it's good, you'll be having a good time, but when it's bad, you'll just be hating the game, like, you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, but the thing is okay, so, like, that's another thing between, like, League of Legends and, like, Runeterra or any card game, is that, like, playing a game that requires skill, you can play fundamentally a character that is lower within the metagame tier list, but you win because your skill or your metagame or your strategy, okay, take away strategy, your approach to the game or your metagame or your skill is significantly greater than your opponent, that you can still win, right? But in card games, like if the numbers of your cards are just like too low, then even if you were to play a smarter game than your opponent can still play dumb and like still win because the numbers are just higher, So like let's say if you were just playing against an opponent where all their stuff did basically the same thing as your stuff, except they all just had +1/+1 over you, I guess you can grind it out and win if you played like really smart and they played like really dumb. But any just average player would just win, because it's just like, oh yeah, all things considered equal, they just have consistently greater like value for each card. And that's the thing with like card games, is that there's nothing you can do except for there's nothing you can do in certain situations. It's just like the cards are the cards. You can't use your skill to like epic win.
Yeah, you can't push the limits of a card.
Yeah.
Like you can push the limits of a champion's mechanics.
Yeah, and like I guess that's also one of the things that makes like digital card games less enjoyable to watch from an esports perspective is that in an esports perspective, you know, like you get those really hype moments when a player does something that people just don't think is possible or makes a like amazing outplay or something. But in card games, you can't do that because like if you're watching from a spectator, you can see the cards, so nothing's a surprise to you. Yeah. Like if you couldn't see the player's cards, then like I guess you could potentially be more surprised, but then it's really hard to commentate. Yeah. Yeah, so
I never even really thought about that. And I've watched plenty of like card game streams. It's just like, oh, I know what's going to happen here and there and whatever, because that's what I would do if I was in this situation. But also, I know that the opponent has this card, so this is the right line of play. Ooh, but he doesn't know. Is he going to do it? Ooh.
Yeah, it's okay. So if you watch like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff, and I've watched plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh. Whenever the character has like an epic play or something, it's not often that they like outsmart their opponent. They just rip the like really good card or the very specific card that was relevant in that particular time. Because if they had it in their hand, you could see it. Oh, yeah, it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, they have to rip it off the top and be like, oh my god, this is the exact card that I set up that's going to win me the game, like in some particular way. But if you were like watching like in game in esports, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's holding this one particular card, and that's going to win him the game on turn 8. Oh, it's turn 8, so he wins because he was holding the card. It'd be like more... you can't have anime moments where it's like, oh, turn 8, he needs to draw something in order to win. It's like, oh, he drew it! Yeah! I set up the game.
A lot of the times, those cards are just sitting in the hand waiting to be used.
Yeah.
That's how I play. I have a vengeance sitting in my hand at the start of the game. I hold onto it because I'm like, I'll need this later.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, that's kind of the annoying things about card games. Man, so like I've played card games a lot, and there are not many like super hype exciting times that are like fun or interesting to watch from a third person's perspective.
Yeah.
The only time when they're interesting is when you can find really obscure combos, like really, really obscure, like shit that people don't even think of. And yeah. But the thing is with the internet, like it's like everyone's figured out every obscure combo, pretty much like straight away, like because internet, like knowledge on the internet spreads so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what's an interesting obscure combo within Legends of Runeterra? There's not even that many like interesting obscure combos.
Well, I can tell you one that's popped up very recently, and like
go ahead.
Like I wouldn't say everyone's doing it, but I've seen a lot of people doing it and like making like funny videos out of it. It's harrowing Ezreal. There's SI Ezreal. You keep killing your Ezreals, and you rekindle them, and then you do a harrowing, and you just bring back like 4 Ezreals.
Yeah.
And then every time you cast a spell, it's like 8 damage to the nexus.
Okay. But you also have to have the spell mana after you harrowing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an Ezreal deck. It's going to be like turn whatever. You only need to cast like 2 puff caps and you win.
Yeah. So I guess you have to hold 10 mana to do it. Okay. I guess.
It's funny, but like...
Yeah. But like, I guess... Yeah. Like, there's...
Unless you mean by funny combos, you mean like a certain like string of cards that like, you know, wipes the board in a certain way or does something like really wacky that swings a high advantage.
Yeah, so that sort of stuff. You know, it's like stuff that people haven't seen or thought of, but everyone's kind of like just figured it out, right?
But a lot of that stuff like isn't good, right? Like we were talking about like Middenstoke Henchman back when with Unyielding Spirit.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Middenstoke Henchman is probably one of those cards where it's like, yeah, if there's some sort of interesting combo that paired up with him, then yeah, there's probably there would be some cool thing about him. Be like, holy shit, he's playing Middenstoke Henchman? Why is he doing that? And then it's like, oh, here's a reason. And he slams it down. And this is the exact specific scenario where Middenstoke Henchman is really good or something. Or some, like, bullshit like that, right? Yeah.
Real talk, like there's no real, like, competitive scene right now to, like to watch people, like, do that sort of shit. And, apparently, like, in tournaments, like, people just take whatever deck. Like, it just doesn't matter. Because they have the ban system where they can ban their, like, worst matchup. They they got a lot more freedom of what cards they can play. And, it also helps that, Will of Ione has been nerfed as well. But there's no, like, go-to place to, like, see a weekly, like, Legends of Runeterra tournament and see some really good players, like, duke it out. And half the time, if you want to see a really good player play the game, you don't go to tournaments, you just go to their stream. You just go to their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It seems like Riot's going to need to front something themselves if they want to, like, have any sense of a competitive scene for Runeterra.
I don't, like, looking at the numbers and everything, I think what Riot Games is probably going to do, they're just going to, like, they put a lot of money into Runeterra already, so they're just going to keep it low on the levels of priority list, like, low on the levels of priority, like, not pump a lot of money into it, and just keep running the business, like, positive cash flow, you know, put less money into it than the money it pulls out. Just use it as a revenue generating sort of like side business. Yeah, you know, like a whole bunch of businesses, they create a second product line, you know, that it's not as successful as the main product line, but, you know, they just have it there because it just makes some money, right? Like, Apple still makes desktop PCs, right? Yeah. But it's like they make a majority of their money off like tablets and phones and MacBooks and shit, right? So it's you know, they don't ever really promote the Mac box, whatever. You know?
The Mac box.
I don't know.
They just called a Mac.
Oh. Okay, I guess. Yeah.
But I mean, you can call it a Big Mac if you want.
Oh, dude. Okay. Have you seen like? Oh my god. we just go on complete tangent on this podcast. I saw this ad on YouTube the other day. So, Hungry Jack's, or the Australian, or what's Burger King called in Australia, they've got a burger now called the Big Jack, and it's literally just a Big Mac.
Oh, for real?
For real. And
is that down here?
Yeah, legit. It's. Oh, I'm not sure if it's on that, but
that's not.
It's a legit a thing, yeah. I saw it was playing an ad on YouTube. Because I still use poverty YouTube. I ain't got that YouTube premium like you have.
Oh man, 2 brekkie wraps for $7.95.
Oh, that's such a rip, man.
Cheeseburger, small chip, small drink, $4.45.
That's okay.
$2 for 8 onion rings.
Ooh. Okay.
Might hold on to this one for when we're allowed out of the house.
Yeah. Yeah. And so... Yeah, okay. I don't know how we got on that tangent. But yeah.
Yeah, neither do I. I think it's because I called...
because you talked about the Big Mac, yeah.
I think it's because I called a Mac a Big Mac.
Yeah.
I feel like Riot would... If anything, like, I don't think they'd run, like, a weekly tournament or some shit like that, like a massive, like, LCS scene. But they might do, like, a 1 year, like a 1 year semi-big tournament or something.
Yeah, like, I think they might treat it like, how they treated, I think it might have been Season 3 League of Legends, where, they just, like, focus more on community stuff. Because, do you remember, like, really old school, like, or maybe not really old school, but quite a long time back, Riot Games used to do the Summoner Showcase. Do you remember those?
Oh, dude, that's from forever ago.
Yeah, with Nikasaur.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
oh
like,
man, that's so old.
yeah, remember? Yeah, so and like that was just a weekly video or something where they just like talk about like cool, interesting artwork and
Yeah.
like that's been made. I think Legend of Runeterra might take a similar approach. It's like focus more on the community interactions of the game and less on the esports, because I think esports for Legend of Runeterra is not the correct play here. I think it's going to struggle very difficult as an esport. Because it's not one of these games that people really want to watch. And the most important thing about being an esport is having like a huge player base and a huge viewer base, because that way you can sell like sponsorships and viewers, right? A sponsor like really is not really going to want to sponsor a Legends of Runeterra tournament, just because the numbers are so low. You know, they could spend the same amount of money, or like a proportionally better rate of money on a, you know, like a Fortnite tournament or a CS:GO tournament or a League of Legends tournament, and get much better return than like the very niche market that you get with like a digital card game, right? And digital card games, they don't even really push products. You know, you don't need like super high end products like the best mouse or the best keyboard or the best like video card to play Legends of Runeterra, right? Whereas, or like even like the best screen, right? So there's a relative reason why like a like monitor company would want to sponsor like a CS:GO tournament, right? Because be like, oh yeah, like game on our new 144 hertz like screen or something, because it's relevant to you playing the game and you want to be at the best of your ability. But like, yeah, you don't need anything to play like Legends of Runeterra. Yeah, yeah,
You can play that shit on your mobile.
Yeah, right. If anything, that's probably if anything, that would probably be the big push. Yeah, just like
The mobile market.
Yeah, but the thing is, the mobile market's like ultra saturated. Yeah.
Oh, big time. Bloody mummies
Yeah.
in their 40s and their Candy Crushes.
So if anything, yeah, Legends of Runeterra, like people barking up the wrong tree with all this competitive level play. It's all about the memes and like creating decks.
It's all about the memes. Dude, we should be the guys to make the Legends of Runeterra meme tournament.
Are we judging them on their play or their meminess?
Oh, you're going to come in and play some games, but we have to review your decks before they come in to see how memey they are. And if you bring like standard decks, you're not allowed to play. But if you bring like some of that Midden Stoke henchman shit, then you're fucking in, man. And we want to see you clash with someone else's dumb deck.
Okay.
Subscribe to the channel. More on this later.
All right. Yeah.
We'll cook on this one.
We'll think about it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe in like quieter weeks we can like have like, oh yeah, here's our meme deck spotlight or something.
Yeah. We're trying to think about more ways we can engage with the community. So, subscribe to the channel, comment on our videos, join the Discord to talk specifically to me.
Is there even I don't really use social media, but is there even like a community for this game?
I mean, there's like Reddit pages and Facebook groups and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's most so like the Facebook group I'm in has their own private Discord and their own private like messenger chat that I'm a part of both. There are a couple of pages on Reddit. There's a lot of people in like the custom card like Reddit that like I recognize all the names because I'm in there so often now. Don't comment on a lot of shit, but hey. So it seems like there's a pretty strong community there, and they do like tournaments for custom cards and things like that. Like, create a custom card with a unique new keyword, and then a whole bunch of people will submit their shit, or create a custom card for the toss mechanic or some shit like that. So like they do a heap of fun stuff. They're the two just like general broad communities that are there for like an idea or a group or something like that. The rest of them seem to be like streamers communities. It's like, this is like Grappler's Discord has like, including myself, like 4 dudes that stream.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I know who all the other guys are that stream in the Discord. They don't all really know me though, because they all post their stream in his Discord, and I feel really bad about doing that, so I never do it. But damn did it pay off for them, and damn did it not pay off for me. Shit.
Oh man, are they getting big numbers? Are they getting 50 or 60 viewers?
Oh no, they're around like 20, but like a good day. A good day for me is like 4.
Okay.
So they're doing a lot better than I am. So like, there's a lot of names that like I see and I recognize, and there's a lot of people that I talk to and like just like joke around with sometimes that are just in the community. And they all seem to feel pretty strongly about their groups. Like there's a guy, Casein Protein, who's a part of the Grappler Discord. And while he was on stream the other day, he was talking about how we have the greatest community of any community that I've ever seen. It's the best. It's the greatest, you know. And, I mean, yeah, sure, we got a, like, Grappler's got a really cool, like, chill group of people. It's generally because of, like, the guy in the group, like, the head honcho, like, the attitude kind of, like, spreads out onto everyone. Everyone sort of mimics what the top guy does. And if he's like super cool and chill, then a lot of the people that are going to be joining the community and hanging out and talking in the Discord and things like that, they're generally going to be chill dudes, you know? Like people attract each other, so to speak. In my experience, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's leadership and culture theory there. So, yeah. I guess, yeah, you know, like you, yeah. He's able to influence the culture of the group, and the group hasn't got all toxic and, you know, got out of control.
And just by being himself, right? Not by, like trying to hammer down on people and say, this is the way we're going to be. It's just like, everyone's like, oh, he's a chill guy, I'm a chill guy, let's all be chill guys together. Yay! Having said that, I don't think there is a chiller group of people on the internet than the Animal Crossing community. So, think they've got you beat there for group of fun, relaxed, chill people.
Yeah.
And that's what my girlfriend said, man. She was like, they don't have the best community. Like, have you seen Animal Crossing? And I'm like, well, actually, a bunch of people who just like to talk about how cute their villages are probably have the nicest, friendliest community around.
Oh, I don't know. It's probably... It, like, looks like that on the peripheral, but probably when you get deeper into it,
you get inside,
there's probably some sort of, like...
Everyone's just a fucking asshole.
Maybe. It's like, okay, so for example, like, okay, I wouldn't... Alright, I really gotta state this, okay? This is just an example off the top of my head. I don't know if this is an accurate reflection of this particular situation, and I also do not know in any way, okay? But the brony community could literally be the same sort of like analogy, right? So it's people that are community about this show My Little Pony, but like if you've really delved into the My Little Pony fan community, there's some pretty dark shit there, I think, right?
I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, man. So I once had a podcast. I've had like 5 different podcasts. Yeah, look how successful I am. Quantity over quality. I once did a podcast way back when. It was called like the MoPro Show or some shit like that. Oh no, it was the Rap podcast. There's nothing to do with video games. It was just like a general talk show with like a bunch of people. I remember we had a guy on from a podcast called Furballed, and it was a furry podcast. So we brought on their host from the furry podcast to come and talk to us and explain what being a furry was.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to, like, dispel any of the misconceptions that, like, being a... Well, he didn't have any agenda. He just come on to talk, right? But it was sort of about dispelling any of the misconceptions that being a furry meant that you like bestiality and things like that. Which... It's not necessarily true.
But by the way, all right, gotta stop you there.
Yeah.
It's not bestiality; it's bestiality. There's no A.
Okay. Okay.
Which is weird, right? Because if it includes beast, why doesn't it have the word beast in it?
Okay. Fair enough. Thought you were going to stop me talking about furries, but that's fine.
Continue with your furry talk.
So, like, it was this big thing about how it's just like a community of people, and, you know, we have fursonas and things like that. And there's nothing, like, sexual about it, and we don't like to dress up as animals and bone each other because you'd be ruining, like, a really expensive animal suit and things like that. It's like, you know, it was this whole big thing, and I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Anyway, I still follow this guy on Twitter, and sometimes he just posts up straight up furry porn. So I'm just like, fuck, dude, looks like there is some kind of sexual agenda behind, like, the furry thing after all.
Exactly, right? So, yeah, exactly. Like you as a person on the periphery, you might not see it, but if you like, you know, you wipe away the gold plating, the gold covering, you can see it's like, yeah, gold-plated turret or something. Which I'm not saying any particular community is, but I'm just saying that it's like, yeah, a lot of communities can look nice and peaceful and stuff on the outside, but when you delve a little bit deeper, there's drama and craziness and scandals and shit. Yeah.
For the record, if there are any furries listening, I have nothing against you, and I'm sure that it's not just about animal sex for all of you.
Yeah, he doesn't mean it about you guys. He means it about those other weird furries. Those guys.
I don't even care about the weird
you
furries,
specifically.
man. I don't even care about the weird furries that want to, like, watch animated, like, animal hentai. It just, like, doesn't bother me. I just
Hey, don't badmouth hentai. I'm pretty sure hentai does not do furries.
Oh, whatever.
I've never seen no furry porn on hentai.
I don't know. Maybe that light
You got me
shit.
fired up about hentai.
Maybe that light shit where it's just like animal ears and like a tail, right? Not like the full.
Yeah. So that's all comic art and Western art. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like saying, yeah, what you're saying is like Avatar: The Last Airbender is anime. That's basically what you just said.
It's not anime. It's inspired by anime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like that cartoon and that cartoon furry porn is not hentai.
All right.
It's just inspired by hentai.
Oh man, going on DeviantArt and calling everything hentai is a sin.
Yeah.
Man.
Like man, I really hope Riot Games never watches this podcast. Like this particular episode of this podcast.
This particular episode, yeah. If there was any hope of getting like Riot Dover Jennies or Ruben on this show, it's not happening now.
Yeah.
They don't want to come and hang out with me. I don't even know if any of the streamers will now if they find out that we had a whole episode where we kind of just talked about furries for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we might as well just cut this and start again. Alright, hey guys, welcome to episode 15.
Hello everybody and welcome to the FUNSMITHS. I'm Viktor Pradley.
Oh man. But yeah, okay, so we got off a massive topic about like monetization and customizability of card games and stuff.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But like, there's not much to talk about this week. A lot of people are saying that we like the meta, but also a lot of people are also saying the game's kind of boring right now. I think it's just because everything's been done. And we're all getting bored of playing the same decks, so we're waiting for the expansion to come out.
Yeah. I think that's the case too. Like, because technically I guess the card pool is pretty small right now, and considering how you can only play 2 regions, yeah, so like I guess the card pool is pretty small, and like when you look at each particular region, certain costs they just have like basically no good guys, right? Like when you look at Noxus, they don't have very good sort of like mid rangey or like semi late game. They don't have very good like 5 to 7s. I feel. Yeah.
No, I don't. They really don't.
Yeah, seems like Noxus has
Noxus drops
the
off
best
after
1 to
like
3.
turn 4. There's
Yeah.
just like no strong cards after turn 4.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna play
Like-
the Trifarian Shield Breaker.
Like, wait,
So,
what good shit does Noxus have on 4? It has like barely anything good at 4.
oh, not now, but they had Basilisk Rider.
Yeah, so they have Basilisk
And,
Rider.
I guess they
the guy-
also have Crowd Favorite in the right deck.
Yeah, they also have like the 4-cost 4/5 that gives you guys like extra power when they take damage. I think he's a 4-cost 4/5, right?
5.
Yeah.
He's 5 cost.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He's the Legion veteran.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this Noxus falls off hard, but it's got like it had like the best 1 to 3s for like such a long time. It's just like so many Noxus nerfs all on the like 1 to 3 mark. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like there's nothing else you can do with Noxus. So it's an issue of like, oh yeah, they want to create a identity for a region, but then that region also gets kind of too boxed in. So like yeah, there's like not much else you can do with the region other than just going ham, going face, and burning your opponent. Yeah. Yeah, so like I've been playing a bit more this week, just like playing regularly to get my pedals and stuff. And yeah, like you see a lot of the same stuff, right? Admittedly, occasionally you'll see like a couple of people play particular decks just to get some of those quests done. So yeah, there were a couple of spider decks I played because they want to get that like the Elnuk Poro spider quest, and then there's like a couple of challenge decks just to get the challenger count up, the challenger quest done. But for most like standard typical decks I see being played online, like overwhelmingly, I'd say maybe like 40% of the decks I play have Sejuani in them. Yeah.
She's pretty popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big spike in Teemo players as well.
Yeah, because also there's
like
one of the quests where you have to plant like 250 mushrooms or something. Yeah.
But a lot of people are playing Teemo Sejuani right now as well. It's like
yeah.
that like it's like it's an idea that someone had long before Mogwai did it, but like Mogwai came out with a deck a long time ago called Cold Trip, which is basically just you have Sejuani on the board, your opponent draws a mushroom, the mushrooms help to level Sejuani, but also if it's flipped, then like it's like round start, your opponent's shit gets frostbitten.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get out of if you do not have access to like Vengeance. Like I beat that deck every time because I just sit on Vengeance until Sejuani comes down. And I don't know, I've only been playing like Shadow Isles decks lately. Or decks that have Shadow Isles in them. It's just like too good a region, man. There's just like never gonna be a meta where Shadow Isles is just too bad to play.
If they made cards that could hate, like some sort of resistance or hate on spells, like some sort of untargetability or some shit, I think that would probably dick Shadow Isles pretty hard. Yeah. Because Shadow Isles, their dudes, like, aren't very strong when it comes to like combat.
Well, I've always seen it as kind of like a support region.
It's like it's a spell heavy region. It's the equivalent of like playing like a black deck.
Yeah.
In Magic, even though you haven't played Magic, but yeah. So yeah, like just I think everyone's just keen for cards. Everyone's keen for some cards.
We are in August now, so we might be very soon coming up to the season of
previews and spoilers and
getting those previews and those spoilers. And me and GrandJ will be right there to review every single card that they spoil right up until the release of the next expansion. And it's going to be a big one. It's a whole new region coming.
Yeah. When they said they were going to release it?
this month. That's all we know.
Oh,
That's
really?
all
This
I know,
month?
anyway. Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, I heard someone say it's going to be, like, during or the end of Spirit Blossom.
Probably the end of Spirit Blossom. So what,
Yeah.
2 weeks Spirit Blossom finishes or something?
Yeah, yeah. It's like 16 days from now, so yeah.
So sure, at the end of 16 days, we might start getting more information.
To be honest, though, 16 days, and they still haven't... Like, 16 days is not a lot of days to preview new cards. But then again, there's not a huge amount of cards to preview. 16 days is not a long time to preview cards, yeah.
Well, they might be... Well, they might not release Targon till, like, I don't know, like the 30th of August, right?
They'll probably wait for Spirit Blossom to finish, and then they'll probably start doing spoilers. Well, I don't know. They'll just probably start doing spoilers this month, anyways. And yeah,
It seems like there's too much going on right now between both League of Legends and this game. With the Spirit Blossom and Yone coming out and Lilia coming out and like the amount of story and the fucking like dating sim shit they got going on in League of Legends. Feels like there's just so much happening right now. Are they really gonna...
League of Legends got this dating sim shit, yeah.
Are they really gonna just like start dropping some cards on us now that, by the way, are completely unrelated to the current event? Like completely unrelated. Like we're gonna start talking about Targon. Targon could not be further from Ionia. It's literally on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, that's another interesting... Yeah, that's an interesting thing. It's just like this... Certain things can be cross-related. Yeah. Can be cross-promoted. But yeah, you can't really promote Runeterra stuff into League of Legends.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible to coordinate one way, but it's not necessarily easy to coordinate the other way.
Supposedly. So, like, there's a lot of stories being written and coming out right now for Riven. Riven's getting a lot of attention at the moment. There's like these group of Czechs that are like Riven's battle sisters or some shit like that back in Noxus. So Noxus is invading Ionia at the moment. And so they're sending a whole bunch of dudes in there, and one specific group is just going in to find and recapture Riven and bring her back to Noxus. Now, supposedly, all of those characters are coming to Runeterra in the next expansion. So all of these battle sisters and this guy that's also tagging along, and Riven is coming. So, like, you can tie in that way and start from there. So, like, you can release a whole new story and then, here are the card spoilers and shit like that.
Okay, yeah, I can see that happening,
And Riven is in Ionia at the moment. As far as, like, the story goes, she is still just chilling out in Ionia. So there's, like, a slight tie in there. But then it's like, okay, well, how do you tie in fucking, like, Tom Kench? And how do you tie in Viktor from Zorn and shit like that? It's just like, do you wait until Spirit Blossom's over and then you start doing those guys? Or do you just do it anyway? Like, who cares?
Yeah, I think they're just going to have to do it anyways. Yeah.
Or they'll have to, like, push back their release to, like, next month.
Yeah, like... Going. To be honest, their big focus and their big money maker is League of Legends. So, like, basically, Runeterra is just like, if they can latch onto that, they'll latch onto to League of Legends. But if Runeterra needs to do its own thing to release like a new set or new cards and stuff, if they can't co-promote it, then yeah, that's whatever. Just Runeterra does its own thing, right? Because like Bilgewater, yeah, when they released Bilgewater, there was not really much on League of Legends to cross-promote it, right? Yeah, so it's just like, oh yeah, here's just the official release. Go download Runeterra now.
Yeah, no, there was no connection at all between games.
Yeah,
but I guess it feels a lot weirder this time though, because the Spirit Blossom event is happening in both games.
Yeah,
and it's one of the biggest events in League of Legends that's happened since like the Bilgewater event back when they killed Gangplank and when they reworked Gangplank and then killed him and then were like, oh, what you were playing was just a skin for Gangplank. Here's his real look. I don't know. Like,
Okay.
that was a really big event back then, and that was a sick event. And they hadn't really done many things as big as that. Maybe the Ascended event, when they first brought out Ascension.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
That was a pretty big one. Because it's like, what they've done is they've released a whole bunch of stories. They've released a freaking anime, for God's sake. They're releasing 2 new champions and a unique game mode in League of Legends, Nexus Blitz, which is a returning game mode, I will admit. Unlike Black Market Merchants, what they had for the Bilgewater event. This is not a unique event. This is not a unique game mode, but they have redone the map to fit the Ionia aesthetic and made it look really beautiful and added a whole bunch of little extra bits and bobs that are very Ionia centric. And then at the same time as they're doing all this shit for League of Legends, it's also happening in Runeterra. It is probably League of Legends' biggest event happening right now.
Okay, yeah. It's definitely pretty ambitious, yeah.
Mm.
But yeah. Well, talking about new cards, let's talk about some of these creator cards.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we gave this person a shout out last week. Who sent these cards in?
Oh, this is Layth.
Leif. Okay. So Leif, thank you for sending these cards in. We will talk about them and yeah.
So one running theme you're going to see on most of these cards. He just sent me like a big picture with all of them on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, fuck it, here they all are. These are some big boys. These are all meant to be, the idea he's going with here, these are all meant to be sort of like late gamey cards that come into effect, that have strong effects that trigger when your own Nexus has gone below 10 HP. So
Okay.
it's kind of like the opposite of Darius's level up condition.
Yep.
And
Okay.
there's no champions here. These are all entirely followers.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll start from the top and work our way.
Okay, well, first card we have is 7 Macau. It's a 5-cost 5/6. To summon me, deal 5 damage to your Nexus. Steadfast, nab 5. Okay, interesting. That is interesting. Okay, so I guess, first of all, the whole Steadfast mechanic, this, you guys are going to hear me say this a lot. That's not an original idea. It's been done in Magic the Gathering, actually. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the concept. There's a whole bunch of cards that can deal damage to yourself to get you to a certain like health amount when everything starts where everything starts getting better. So you have a whole bunch of cards that usually would be in other decks just like a big drawback because it deals yourself damage, but in certain decks it will. Like in this particular deck, it's supposed to get you down to a certain level of health so that all your effects like activate and stuff, right? Yeah. So 7 Macau. All right. So before I start analyzing these cards, if you have anything to chime in about the lore of any of these cards, let me know, okay? Because I have like zero idea about any of these in terms of lore wise.
I can tell you right now, there is not a lot of lore in any of these cards.
Okie doke. Alright. Well, I guess I'll just make it up as I go. So 7 Macau deals yourself 5 and he nabs 5. So if I had to take a guess, it's probably it's probably like, I could be wrong, but it feels very much like a mercenary or a thief for hire type feel, where it's like you're paying with life to hire this guy, and you know it's like he steals 5 from the opponent, right? Definitely nab 5 is way too strong. Like, yeah, nab 5 is way too strong. Like maybe Nab 2 or Nab 3. Maybe Nab 2 might be about right. Nab 3 seems a little bit too steep. Like, admittedly, it's like, yeah, to summon him, you have to, like, deal 5 damage to your Nexus. Like, yeah, if you're playing the Steadfast strategy, then, yeah, it seems fine and doable. So basically, it's like, his thing is, like, you're getting a 5/6 for 5 mana, because you're paying additional 5 life to do it as well. So, like, the payoff is not massive for that, but, like, the Steadfast part is, like, what you're doing it for. Nab 5 is way too much. So, Nab 3 is probably more realistic. To be honest, in terms of actual play, though, this card might not be that playable, because by the time turn 5 rolls around, against certain matchups, that would put you very close to lethal. Yeah, I guess it's more relevant only against control decks. Yeah, because control decks don't do that much damage to you early on. So yeah, if the control deck hasn't dealt that much damage to you, and yeah, you just like drop 7 Macau, then yeah, like yeah, you can nab 5, and then against control decks, like yeah, you've just got way more resources than them. So yeah, it's actually interesting in that regard, because then control decks they don't even want to put you at 15. Control decks want to just keep you at 20 for the entire game, because if they put you down to 15, you can just like drop 7 Macau and draw 5 cards. Yeah, assuming the Steadfast happens after you deal yourself 5 damage, which I guess you would. So yeah, so definitely in terms of balance, it's a little bit too strong. In terms of like flavor, I get it. Yeah, I get it, and yeah, so I think it's not a bad card. I think his stats are a little bit over tweaked though. Yeah, I think more cards should have just less high numbers and should have more keywords. Because like a 5/6 is less interesting than like a 5/4 first strike, or a 5/3 elusive, or a whatever, right? Because keywords define characters, or they give you flavor to a character, right? Numbers don't. You know, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, not a bad card. Definitely overpowered, but I like the flavor and the flavor of it. So, it's really hard to judge. It's probably like 6.5, 7. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay. Was I supposed to say something?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything or.
I don't have much to say. He has used the art from Swain to make this card. My man has a serious problem with forgetting to put the fucking region at the bottom of it, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say that this is a Bilgewater card.
Okay.
I mean, it's got the nab mechanic anyway, right? Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I think it's a cool card. I specifically like the control matchup interaction, where like now control is not trying to deal any damage until like they want to try and 20 to 0 you, because the Steadfast mechanic might be a little too overwhelming, like they can't control it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty cool interaction. You want to look at the next one?
So next card is Blade Dancer. It's a 5-cost 4/2. It's got Barrier and Challenger. When I'm summoned, I receive +1 health for each other challenger ally, and Steadfast, other challenger allies receive the same buff. So, if I had to take a guess, I would assume that all these Steadfast effects are probably way overtuned. Like I understand that it's like, yeah, you know, as your cards, like if you have a certain restriction, then cards should get stronger. But I feel that if these Steadfast abilities seem way too strong. I could see it if they were like name something like Last Stand and only activated when you're at like 5 life or lower or something. Then I could see stuff being like this powerful. But like, yeah, Steadfast at 10, just some of these just seem like way too strong, right? So if you have like 2 guys, it's like giving herself +2 already, right? And she's barrier and challenger, right? So that's already a pretty deadly combination. But on top of that, to just give like say +2 health to 2 other guys is massive, right? This is like, Bannerman on steroids in a way, right? Yeah, and then it's like and the thing is, it's exponential growth. So if you add like a third challenger ally and you're steadfasting, not only does she get +3, but she gives +3 to 3 guys now. You know, so the value, so the total number of health stats that you get with 2 other guys is you get 6 for 2 guys, but if you have 3 other challenger guys, then it goes from 6 to 3 to each of them, so it goes to 12. And then if you have like 4 other guys, you have 5 guys get 4, so it goes up to 20. So it's an exponential growth. So yeah, it basically becomes just like extremely overpowering if you have like even like a decent sized board. Plus, like, this is probably super abusable. You could play like, I don't know, spiders or something, and just like drop on guard, play this chick, and just be like, all right, yeah, cool. All my guys have like +5.
Yeah, you could even just have Elise leveled on the board.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, and she has all of that plus barrier and challenger, right? So like, I kind of understand where they're coming from. So Blade Dancer is probably like related to that whole Laurent clan, right? And it's supposed to be like a follower, boss follower kind of for that clan, which is interesting because we don't really have a boss follower for the Laurent clan, right? Like Grandmaster Laurent or some shit. Yeah, because we have Bright Steel Formation, and we have like Tiana or something, Crown Guard and shit.
Yeah, so like, Tiana's like the top end elite, and Bright Steel is like just this other big top end, like so mid range kind of card, and then I guess you also have, if you want to go there, Reinforcements, which is like top end spell for the elites.
Yeah. So I guess
no real like, there's nothing really there for like the Laurents, right?
Yeah. So I guess this will probably be fitting that sort of type deal. Yeah. So like I can understand barrier and challenger, right? As for giving herself +1 defense, that doesn't seem to fit in with the whole Blade Dancer motif. Or the whole Laurent Challenger motif, because they seem to be more like characters that aren't focused about like buffing themselves up or defending up. They seem to be more about like aggressively fighting and fighting people. So something like giving challenger allies like quick attack or something might be more in line with what I would think a Blade Dancer would do, right? Because when you think about a Blade Dancer, it's more like a battle rogue, right? And their whole thing is they're like they either attack first or crit first, or they have like high evasion skills. So they basically dominate combat, right? So I think the steadfast ability should focus more around that rather than just buffing the guys, because buffing the guys seems more of like a knight or an elite type effect. Yeah. As for the way the stats multiply, it's like way too strong. Yeah. So, even if you were to like tune this up to like 8 or 9 cost, 8 or 9 cost, I guess at 8 or 9 cost, this effect is probably fair enough. But yeah. So like I think, I like the idea. I like I like the combination of the keywords, but Steadfast is a little bit over tuned. The effect is a little bit over tuned, and I don't think that this thematically feels like this thematically feels in line with the whole like sort of Laurent Challenger House type deal. So I would give this one a 4.5 because it just seems a little bit off the mark. Yeah. Okay. Need some tweaking.
Cool.
Next card is Iceborn Charmer. It's a 4-cost 4/4. On strike, create a spell with Frostbite, and Steadfast, reduce spells with Frostbite mana cost by. I think it just says Steadfast reduces spells with Frostbite by 1 everywhere. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like like Cloud Drinker or something, but for like spells that involve frostbite, right? Yeah. So okay. So I'm into this. So basically, the frostbite mechanic could probably use a little bit more support within Froyo, right? So yeah. So maybe okay. So a couple of things here, right? So first of all, this is one of the ones where like the Steadfast ability is probably not overtuned, but it probably should still say like frostbite still have to cost at least 1. So it's like reduce them by 1 to a minimum of 1. Otherwise, you could have like 0 cost brittle steals.
Yeah,
which may be a little bit too strong. I'm not sure. Although we do have some 0 cost spells, so I guess it's not that overpowered. Okay, maybe
Brittle
not.
Steel's already quite a high impact card.
At 1 mana.
For 1 mana. I mean, it hits health 3 or less only. But oftentimes it's pretty easy to get a big guy down to 3 health.
Yeah.
And then just hit him with that frostbite.
Yeah. The big issue is with the stats of this card. So if you look at all characters that have some sort of strike ability, strike basically means that your health should basically be like 2 or 3 points lower than what's natural on curve, right? Yeah, you look at every character with strike, it's like the health has to be way lower, right? Because they gain too much value if they can survive more than 1 combat. And Iceborn Charmer being 4 health, this actually is pretty severe in the sense that like, yeah, you could potentially see this chick like fight 3 guys. Yeah. And especially if you've got frostbite type effects, you could fight with this chick, your opponent blocks with a guy, and they think it's going to trade, and you're like, frostbite your guy. And they're like, shit, okay, so my guy gets frostbited, Iceborn Charmer beats him up, and then you get another frostbite spell, and it's like, shit, what'd I do?
She's also in, like, the region with Take Heart. So, like, at 4 health, it's very easy to buff her. So, like, she's probably looking more to be around that 2 health mark. So it's kind of harder to get that buff on her.
Yeah. 4 attack might also be a little bit high if she's a Charmer. She probably should only have like 2 or 3 attack. Because she's not really like a fighter, she's more of a support unit. So her attack stats shouldn't be that high. And as for the strike part, that should tune her like health down lower as well. Yeah. And if this Steadfast ability, the Steadfast ability I assume is just like a continuous effect, as opposed to like as soon as it triggers off, all your spells get -1. So yeah, if it's an ongoing effect or a continuous effect, your opponent can just always kill it. Like your opponent will just always like prioritize killing it to like increase the cost to like return the cost of your frostbite spells back to regular. So yeah, so in this particular case, I think the card is pretty spot on except for stats. Yeah, I think it gives like a reasonable amount of support to the frostbite mechanic. Yeah, the frostbite mechanic, and it's got an interesting effect. It's not overtuned except for the stats, so it's probably like a 7.5, I'd say. Yeah, it's probably around this like the same level of 7 Macau, but yeah, but this time the character feels on point. You just tweak the numbers down a little bit, and I think it's going to be fine. So the next card we have is Eons of Protector. It's a 6-cost Ionia card. Looks like some sort of Minotaur type thing. Looks very World of Warcraft-esque. It's a 6-cost 6/5. When you cast a burst spell, create a fleeting exact copy of it. Its steadfast ability is, I grant myself I can't be removed by spells or skills. When you cast this burst spell, create a fleeting exact copy of it. Okay, I see. So
I don't think
right.
I like this one, man.
Okay. So, alright, so like, yeah, so this has potential for abuse, because it means that you can just infinitely cast burst spells. Because when you cast a burst spell, you create an exact fleeting copy of it, and then technically you can cast it again. So it should say it's like the first time you cast a burst spell a turn, or like when you cast a non-fleeting burst spell, because otherwise Aeons of Protector and whatever that Bilgewater one is, Warning Shot, we just win your game. You just go Aeon Protector, Warning Shot, create an exact copy of it, Warning Shot, Warning Shot, Warning Shot, Warning Shot, and your opponent loses.
Oh man.
Yeah. So definitely, man, I'm like a card lawyer here. I'm just like, all right, what are the loopholes straight away, right? Yeah. So okay, let's say that they tweak it to have some sort of limitation where you can't create another copy of it afterwards, right? So yeah, so it allows you to double cast each spell. Yeah, double cast each spell. And on Steadfast, I grant myself can't be removed by spells or skills. I think that's reasonably okay. To be honest, I'm surprised that this game doesn't have more characters that are like anti-spell, like can't be chosen by spells, or like can't receive damage by spells. I'm surprised that's not like a thing in the game right now. So this Steadfast ability is probably fine. As for like its first ability, that's definitely seems really strong. And its stats seem a little bit too high for something like this, right? So typically when you have a character that has some sort of like defensive ability, you generally have to tweak its stats down. Because Aeons of Protector, if it can't be removed by skills or spells, your opponent has to fight it. And even when it comes to like fighting, this guy's still really strong. Yeah. So, yeah. Also, like, I'm not sure if doubling up your spells is something that you would expect to see within Ionia. I guess, like, yeah. Is it an Ionia thing?
I mean,
double up spells?
I guess it's a karma thing.
Oh, yeah, true, I guess,
Like, to be honest, this is kind of like an idea I thought that karma should have on her flip side. Instead of just doubling a spell cast, she should just like create a copy of that card in your hand, which forces you to pay for it again. Yes, maybe she discounts the card. So like in the situation of if you want to like double vengeance, if you vengeance a card, they have to like deny it twice or some shit like that, right?
Yeah.
To get over it. But also a lot of the times you'll use a spell on a card, and it's just like, oh yeah, one will cast, the other will fizzle out, and then it just leads to, and then there was also like the Ezreal abuse case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like my karma idea was that she would pretty much do this card's effect, which was just like create a copy of every spell you cast in hand that's fleeting or some shit like that. So then you can realistically cast it again, but you'd have to pay the cost.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like it's an idea I've had before. Of course, this is restricted to burst spells. I'd say he's a lot better than Cloud Drinker is. But I think I don't know. I'd almost say I'd prefer for this guy to be not 6 mana, like maybe a bit cheaper, and have the Steadfast ability be the copying of spells. I mean, I feel like a lot of the time within Ionia, he's only really going to be used for like deep meditation, if he's going to be used at all.
Oh,
like
yeah, true.
He requires some other card in order to trigger. There's not a lot of like burst spell abuse cases, which is kind of why like Cloud Drinker's so bad. It's just like, oh, what are you going to use with Cloud Drinker? Well, the only thing people really use it for is just like some really dumb infinite decks that just like cheese out your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only realistic use I see for this guy is he hits the board, he's got mad thickness, and then if you have Deep Med in hand, then you can cast Deep Med twice for 6 mana.
Yeah. I feel like I definitely feel that this card is overtuned. It's like, yeah, it's a card that's definitely like hugely potential for abuse. Like as soon as you get to 10, you drop this guy and it's really hard to lose from here. Being able to like double cast spells. His stats are too high. It's like he could have an effect similar to this, but his stats need to be much lower, or he needs to have his ability brought back. Like his effect isn't like okay, his cost is not too cheap because you have that piltover card, the engineer something that gives you fleeting copies of cards.
Yeah, when you draw a card, it makes it fleeting and creates a copy of it.
So yeah, so I guess Aeon's Protector, you know, you can argue, oh yeah, you know, it's just like it's a similar thing, right? So yeah, so so I think the Steadfast ability puts it a little bit over the top. That yeah, it can't be like targeted, can't be removed by spells or skills.
Could you imagine if Karma now couldn't be removed by spells or skills?
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm misinterpreting this, and it says can't be. All right, so this might be one of those like I'm surprised I didn't think about this earlier. I'm sorry, Lave, if I just only realized. Okay, so when it says can't be removed by spells or skills, it probably means shit like it can't be Vengeance and it can't be World of Ioniad, but it'll probably still die from damage. So you can probably still cast like damage spells. Like if you deal 5 damage to it, it'll probably still die.
Yeah.
Because it's death by damage calculation or whatever, not like death by spell or something, right? Okay, so if it is that interpretation of it can still be damaged by spells and skills, it just can't be removed or destroyed by them, then this card's actually more in line. Yeah, actually. Alright, thinking about it that way, this Steadfast isn't too overpowered. Still, I think his stats should be tweaked back a little bit. Yeah, so probably, I think 4-5 might be more right. 4-5 or 4-4. Yeah, so at least it's more removable. Its stats are a little bit weaker. And yeah, it's like inherently you don't exactly get massive value out of it the same time you play it. Because you play this card on 6, right? You've burnt most of your mana. So even if you do cast a spell, and you create a fleeting copy of it, the fleeting copy you probably can't even play it. So it kind of has to survive a turn. I guess now that I think about it, it's actually probably not too overpowered. Yeah. If it only copies the same burst spell once. Yeah, I'm not sure like thematically how it fits into Ionia. I guess it kind of fits into the Ionia double cast mechanic, like you know, the Lee Sin shit. And I guess the Karma shit as well. Actually, it kind of fits in all right. All right, like I'm starting to see more about this card. Now that the more I talk about it, yeah, like it's really the bull, the horns that's just like throwing me off massively about this card. Like if you had some sort of monk or some shit there, like it probably.
As far as the lore goes, I don't actually think there are any Minotaurs in Ionia that I know of.
Yeah.
Most of them were on the mainland, and they were like enslaved by Noxus.
Yeah.
Or some like they were made to fight in the arenas and shit like that. It's like what happened. It's like the Alistar story, and they fight in the wars and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. I think all right. Now that I've sort of thought about this a little bit, it's actually not too bad. I think the stats need some work. But overall, this is actually alright. I think it's about the 7.5 mark again. I can see it. Yeah.
You are a lot more keen on it than I am.
Like I'm not a lot more keen on it, but like I can see how it fits into Ionia, and the effect seems more balanced than I originally thought it would be. Yeah. It just stops very specific removal cards from being able to remove it. But its stats need to be lowered to compensate for it.
I think he's a little weak.
Yeah, like, okay.
I think his main effect isn't good enough. Assuming you fix it so you can't, like, abuse, like, warning shot OTKs. But, I just don't... I don't think there's enough burst spells to support this card. Enough worthwhile having burst spells.
Mm-hmm.
There's Deep Meditation. I can't think of anything else. And, like, playing this guy on 6 and then on turn 7 cast... Like, you can't even cast Deep Med twice for 3 mana the following turn because you have to, like, get its costs down. So, I think it's just a long time before this guy starts generating you positive value. Like, the best thing he has going for him right now is that he hits the board on 6, triggers Steadfast, and then he's just like this thick unit that you have a hard time taking off the board.
Yeah, okay. So, you know those Iona spells like Sonic Wave and Recall and that sort of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to double up both of them. Yeah. You also can double up mushrooms.
Okay, you can't double up return. Return's fast.
Okay.
You can double up like the recall part of it to like play a second, like you can cast the second part of that spell and play like another 3-cost unit, and that's okay. That's only 1 mana. Sonic Wave doesn't really get played. There's like some games where like there's some decks it might get run as a 2 of. Like, okay, maybe he's like a 1 of in an Ezreal deck, right? Like, you pop him in with Ezreal Karma. You drop him on the board at some stage in the game, and then, like, you just, like, spam out mushrooms.
Yeah.
And, like, he just, like, helps the Karma Ezreal OTK.
Double casting Frostbites isn't too terrible as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like...
I don't know, it's just, like...
He creates a lot of value, and his stats are really good for it. And
I think if he created a lot of value, I think Cloud Drinker would get played way more than it does.
But, like, Cloud Drinker doesn't create you an extra card. Cloud Drinker just saves you 1 mana. This creates another copy of that burst spell. And so if you just play all these cost-efficient, like, burst spells, you can get more value out of your cards.
I'm not really sold on him.
Yeah,
I think it's way too late in the game, and I don't know. It's a boat problem. Like, he gets played, and then you have to wait until like the next turn before it starts doing anything.
Yeah,
and then it's like the best thing about him is that he's big. Like, he's a massive body.
Like,
and you can't vengeance him or ruinate him.
That's actually surprising a lot stronger than you think it is.
I'm saying that's like the best part about him. Like,
yeah.
Like, he hits the board, you can't vengeance him, you can't ruinate him.
Yeah.
I don't think the burst spells are really enough. I think he should be smaller. Right. I think he should be cheaper.
They shouldn't put engines like this on cheaper cards. But okay. Moving on, I guess.
But like, you're talking about like, you can't make this guy infinitely create you burst spells. So you have to change it to like once. Like the first burst spell you cast, create a fleeting card in hand. Otherwise, you just create like an infinite number of like warning shots. Are you proposing a way that like you can't create a copy of the same card twice?
Oh, okay. So like, yeah. So definitely there has to be a restriction of like, you can't recopy the same burst spell twice, right? That definitely has to be within his thing. Otherwise, it's like you drop this guy and you can just like spend the rest of the game just dropping mushrooms. Just like drop this guy on 6, next turn, spend 7 mana just dropping 35 mushrooms into your opponent's deck or some shit. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like like admittedly the game is getting to like a pretty late game point when you get into the 6 mana cards. Like the game is starting to finish and stuff. I think as a mid-range sort of card he's kind of okay. But it's like, yeah, he doesn't do anything on the turn he's played. That's a thing, though. So you have to build your deck around getting there. Yeah.
I don't know, I think he's too limited for the game.
Okay.
It's like Zevi has the same problem. Like you brought up the chicken that like when you draw a card, create a copy of it. Like it feels really good when you use it, but it's like, oh yeah, but you need to like draw into a card that's going to be really good to have 2 copies of, but then also all of your cards are fleeting. So like say goodbye to like holding on to really important cards in hand. Like she's like her drawback kind of hurts her really bad there. This guy obviously doesn't have a drawback, like it's all positives. But like I don't know.
Doesn't Zevi just make the cards? Okay, doesn't Zevi just makes the copies fleeting? You still have your regular cards, right?
No, she makes both copies fleeting.
She makes both. Oh, all right, okay.
I don't know. It seems like there are a lot of like highly synergistic cards in the game that are just like unusable because like a lot of cards in Runeterra seem to need to be able to stand on their own feet. Like it has to be good on its own.
Yeah,
without having like to build like a whole big deck around like one specific card or something like that.
Yeah, that's a problem with Runeterra in general. That's just the game's problem. Because
yeah, I know.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think this is a card that survives in the metagame. I'm sure you can build some very fun decks around it, but like I said, the best thing is like he's 6 and he's massive. And he's hard to remove.
Okay.
I'm not denying that there are some pretty abusable things that you can do on him.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Then again, alright, if that's the perspective, then it's really dependent upon the meta then. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Alright. Well, the next card I think is absolutely busted, if you want to talk about that one.
Alright, next card is Legion Bloodsplitter. 4-cost 5/5. Alright, let's see where this is going. It can't block and it's got Fearsome. The first time I see you attack this game, Rally. Steadfast, Rally. Where's the drawback? Oh, I guess technically the drawback is that it can't block, right?
Yeah, but you're winning the turn you play this.
Yeah, it's like... like... Yeah. The first time he sees you attack...
So
yeah.
You open attack... So, like, you play a bunch of shit. You open attack turn 4. I guess you have to get below 10 health, right? But...
Yeah, you just never block. If anything, it's like the whole I can't block drawback is like the least drawbackiest against his deck because you just alright, cool. I don't block. Just take a whole bunch of shit to face.
Let your opponent punch the shit out of you,
and then yeah, you just finish him off. Yeah,
and then you open attack, play this bitch, rally, and then you attack, and you just get to rally again. Like a 3 attack turn for 4 mana.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing, right? You attack? Yeah, okay. So you attack, you play her, rally, attack, she rallies again, right? Then you attack with her the third time, she dies, you play Mistcaller, she comes back, you rally again, God. You punch, rally. then your misfortune's leveled up, and then your opponent surrenders. Oh my god, I just noticed it. It's just like the one turn after misfortune.
Holy shit.
Misfortune, Legion, Blood Spitter, OTK. Skip 1, skip 2, turn 3, misfortune, turn 4, this guy, you win. Do you win? I don't know.
Oh, as long as misfortune can survive an attack, yeah, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like, alright, so the defense of this card needs to go way, way down. Like, so let's just say that we keep what makes this card unique, in that she's someone that comes in and rallies and shit, right? But yeah, but the thing is that, like, realistically, her drawback should be more about her stats, right? If she rallies your guys, and like, I know Noxus wants to have like more aggressive cards, so I'm on board with like maybe 5 attacks a little bit higher. If she had 5 attack and 1 defense, maybe, but it probably should be more like 4-2, or maybe even 4-1. So yeah.
Sorry, my mic's muted because there's a little bit of extra noise. Yeah, this bitch is pretty nut. It just as she is.
Yeah. So yeah. So the 5 defense is way too strong. Yeah. So if you made her able to rally, then she needs to be fragile as shit, right? Either so she can be removed by removal the moment she comes into play, or she has to be able to get blocked straight away and just like die, right? So yeah, having rally on her body's not too bad. It's not overwhelmingly overpowered. It's just that her stat line is too good, and probably fearsome is probably a little bit too much. I think she probably doesn't need fearsome. Yeah, but yeah, she shouldn't have fearsome. Keep the unable to block thing. Her defensive stat should go way down. Her attack stat probably could get bumped down to 4 as well. Yeah. So yeah, she's way too strong. Stats need to go way down. But
there's just so much value coming out of this card. I mean, like, compare it to Katarina. You play Katarina, you attack, she levels up, she jumps to your hand. The next turn, you can play her and you get to rally. And now Katarina costs 4. And then every time she punches through, she comes back to your hand. You can cast her again and rally. Every time you want to rally in a Katarina deck, you can do it an infinite number of times, but it costs you 4 mana. If you go into Demacia, you can play a cheaper spell that costs 3 and gets you to rally, but doesn't give you the Katarina body and doesn't let you do it infinitely because you've only got 3 cards in the deck at most, and you're not going to draw into all of them.
Yeah.
You have a chick that has, it gives you the body, and it gives you the double rally.
And it has fearsome for some reason.
It has fearsome. It has better stats than what Katarina has. And it is at the exact same cost as a leveled up Katarina.
Yeah.
This card is bonkers. And you could even just like play this outside of Noxus. You could run like a full-on like Demacia mid-range deck, and then just put in like 3 of this chick.
Yeah.
And you have this like buffed up Bannerman board, and then you just drop like Legion Blood Splitter. Like you might see mid-range like Demacia decks that just like drop Relentless Pursuit and just play this.
Yeah. So, definitely overtuned in like every stat line dimension. Yeah, I feel that I could see it thematically sitting within Noxus. It's got some interesting things. But yeah, it just needs to be like, it just needs to chill the fuck out.
I get it, like
yeah, I get it too.
Noxus is like the bully region, and I've never seen a card that bullies harder than this.
Yeah.
And if a card with this kind of effect would be in any region, it would be Noxus for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess we were talking about earlier, like there's no like really strong turn like 4 play.
Yeah.
In Noxus, no really strong turn 5 plays and things like that.
Like I think there should be more of a drawback or some sort of additional cost. It's like to play this card, you need to do something like kill one of your guys or something like that. I feel in order to justify it. So who knows?
Killing one of your own guys to rally is very reminiscent of Darius's lore.
That's why I was thinking it. Yeah,
because they were retreating, and then Darius was like, "We don't fucking retreat. We're badass." So he decapitates the leader of the platoon and sends the troops back in and wins a decisive victory because everyone was so inspired by friendly fire in Noxus.
Well, it's more so like I've like apparently that's something that the Centurions did or something. That's where the term decimate comes from apparently. Apparently the Romans or something like if you were to flee from battle or were a coward or something, you would get decimated. In which case, something along the lines of like 1 out of 10 people in that platoon would have to get beaten up by their own platoon.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so they had to draw straws, and 1 out of every 10 people had to be murdered by their colleagues' friends, or like colleagues' hands and shit, or something like that. Hence the term decimate. Yeah. Okay. It seems it does. So having some sort of drawback where you have to like sack a guy or something might be more relevant. Stats need to go down lower. So basically, the only interesting thing about this card is that it's its effect, but everything else needs to be reworked. So this one needs a lot more work. So it's probably around that like 4.5 amount of completionist and completion polish. I guess. Okay, so I guess when I rate these cards from 0 to 10, it's more about where along the lines of polish of the card is, right? So it's like this is probably still like in late alpha reworking stage. Yeah. So it needs a lot of rework. Yeah. Next card, Pharaoh's Peacekeeper. Oh, this is an interesting looking card. It's a 7-cost 6/6. Steadfast. Obliterate all spells in your and your enemy's hand, and the top 5 cards in both decks. If a total of 15 spells get obliterated, I strike the Nexus. All spells in you and your opponent's hand, and the top 5 cards in both decks. If a total of 15 spells get obliterated, she strikes the Nexus. So, alright. So, Riot really... Okay, so card game effects where you get to mess up your opponent's hands are really unfun to play against. Are really unfun to play against. And a lot of people really hate them. And Riot's design perspective is that they would never allow a card like this to exist unless it's got some extremely high cost, such as, what was it, that He Who Wanders or some shit?
She Who Wanders.
Yeah, She Who Wanders. Because that shit costs, what, 9 or 10 or something? And it only obliterates 4 or less, right?
Yeah, 4 or less units in both players' hands and on the board.
Yeah, so Pharaoh's... Okay, and also She Who Wanders, does it only blow up followers? It doesn't blow up champions, right?
It doesn't blow up champions. It used to blow up champions. It got patched out because I think it was too strong.
Yeah. So Pharaoh's Peacekeeper is probably a little bit too strong in that regard. To obliterate all spells in both players' hands. Like the crazy thing is that people might think, it's like stack your deck with a whole bunch of spells. Yeah, stack your deck with a whole bunch of spells so you can strike your opponent for 6 damage. Nah, just play a mid-range deck and just drop this as your counter to control. Oh, I'm playing against an Ezreal control deck and I can't seem to kill him. Oh, I just dropped this on 7. Alright, Ezreal deck screwed. Or Karma deck screwed because now they've got like an Ezreal or a Karma and like you've wiped their entire hand.
I would assume at the very least, like a little icon would pop up that you could deny before this effect goes off. So like an Ionia deck isn't totally fucked against this chick. They do have the opportunity to deny.
Yeah. But alright, but then okay, but yeah,
maybe
but then,
there could be some kind of restriction on what it gets to obliterate.
Yeah, alright, so either it has to be restricted hardcore. It either has to be restricted hardcore. Yeah, it either has to be restricted hardcore, or its cost has to go up to like 10 or something. Yeah. Like most of these cards, like these ones are definitely overtuned. Yeah, okay. So yeah, okay. So like this effect. Okay, so the thing is that people hate playing its hand control, but it's a thing that exists in like Magic the Gathering and stuff, and it's something for certain Magic Gathering players to do. But like people don't like playing against hand control or blue control, right? So yeah, so it's one of those cards where it's like just because it exists in Magic the Gathering doesn't mean it needs to exist in all card games. Because just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something, right? And so like yeah, in this case, just because it can make this card doesn't mean that they should make this card. So this is one of those situations where it's like, do you make your game a game where you can have control decks where your opponent just sits there and just like passes every turn, or do you want to have one of those games where you don't want to allow cards like this to exist, right? And I think Riot Game is like Legend of Runeterra is a game where they don't want an effect like this to exist, right? Yeah. So in that regards, the argument is that it's like, can this effect even exist at all? And yeah, if an effect can't like this can't exist at all, just like there's no point even kind of discussing it as like whether it's a 9 cost or a 10 cost card.
I think at the very least in the control matchup, like the control will not let you go below 10. They'll just like sit there every turn and just keep like clearing your board.
Yeah.
So like having this chick's effect go off, like she might spend a lot of time. Like she's gonna spend 7 turns just bricked in your hand, and then if your opponent doesn't let you go below 10, then she's gonna be bricked even longer. And then depending on what kind of deck it is, like so if it's War Mother's control, you wouldn't punch them down. You just wait till 12 mana, cast War Mothers, and then it doesn't really matter what happens from there. Like even if she obliterates a whole bunch of spells, you're getting 3 units every turn, and they're all massive. For like the Ezreal type shit, they'll probably just try and take you down from like 11. It's like this Steadfast thing. It's kind of like Dragon Ball.
I was literally about to say, it's like I'm a little bit late to mention this now, but it's basically like Set 1 Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Supercard game, where it's like, for those of you guys who haven't played it, basically like you get one attack with your leader a turn, but unless you're at below half life, you don't get to draw cards with it. So every time your leader attacks when you're below half life, you draw a card, but like when you're above half life, you don't get to draw a card. So like the early game meta was, your leader has to be able to damage itself, or you have to play a whole ton of cards that can damage yourself really cheaply, right? So early games just didn't matter. You would just like focus on punching yourself down to half health so you can power up to full power, right? So to be honest, I think, all right, in theory, it created, it was supposed to create a game where, you know, rushing your opponent down full aggro was not a great idea, because if you put your opponent into the threshold or the awakening threshold, then it means that they're much stronger to like come back at you, right? And they have more resources and they're stronger and stuff. But what it actually did was create a game where you just focus on punching yourself in the face to make yourself stronger, right? So like, to be honest, this whole Steadfast mechanic as a whole kind of can't exist, because it just means that like no one will play anything except for cards that just hit themselves in the face. Yeah.
That's what it was like for Dragon Ball.
Yeah, it really was.
There was like set 1. It was just like blue Vegeta all the way.
Vegeta or Ginyu, because they could both take life.
And Ginyu came much later in the meta.
Yeah,
because everyone sort of... And Champa got played because there was a red card that could rip your own life.
Also because he just drew on the front side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was... Like, I guess at the... Like, I would imagine that if Steadfast existed as a skill, it wouldn't be something that every region had access to. I would imagine that if... Like, this is kind of like a... Like... Don't take this the wrong way, but I kind of... treating this a little bit like a proof of concept. Like, if Steadfast existed, what would it look like? And here are some ideas from different regions that are somehow, in some way, reminiscent of the type of thing that region wants to do. So it like takes a little splash of their identity, puts it into a really overpowered effect that only triggers in a very specific circumstance. I would imagine that there is a Steadfast strategy, assuming it exists for real, there is a Steadfast strategy that exists in the game that only exists in maybe 1, maybe 2 regions. And it's a very specific like set of cards, and it's ideally like a high risk, high reward deck. But it's very limited in its usage, and it would be very abusable in a lot of ways. The problem with Dragon Ball is that there was no drawback to going below 4 life or going below 5 life. Because if you were 5 life and above in Dragon Ball, you were very much at the disadvantage. Always.
Yeah. You just let your opponent punch you in the face. The first 4 life didn't matter. It was
never in Dragon Ball, never difficult for your opponent to deal a shitload of damage to you later on in the game. And it's kind of like because of the way the attacking system worked, right? Like, very often they could, like, punch you down from, like, 5 to 0.
Yeah.
And also, because you got to draw 2 cards every turn when you were awakened, like, you're just sitting there piling up cards in your hand. There was no hand limit. I don't know, like, looking back, Set 1 Dragon Ball was a real shit show.
Yeah.
Like, at least now, like, I mean... Like the deck that I was playing before we went into lockdown, like it was actually a deck, and this is something that I was asking for a really long time. There was actually a deck in the game where you didn't want to awaken straight away because the front side effect was useful enough that you would want to get the most value out of it before you awakened and got your flip side effect.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't help that, like, super combos became a must-have in every single deck, and they only trigger when you're below 4 life. Whatever. The game has a lot of issues that very much come around the awaken mechanic. So,
yeah. Okay. So my interpretation of the Steadfast mechanic should be... Alright, so your interpretation was that, like, it should be a mechanic that's kind of focused on one region, kind of like Pilferer or something. My interpretation of Steadfast is that I think it's fine for 1 or 2 cards in every region to have it, but I think Steadfast should be a enhancement of an effect that's already on the card, right? Not like, and it shouldn't be like a win condition. So when you think about it, like a card like Pharaoh's Peacekeeper, you're attaching a win con to Steadfast, right? So basically, your opponent just wants to not allow your win con by keeping you above 10, right? But what Steadfast should really be, and Final Fantasy does this really well. It's like, for example, like 7 Macau, its effect it's actually maybe not 7 Macau. So, okay, maybe 7 Macau, right? So like its effect should be like a 5 cost 5/6, deal yourself 5 damage and nab 1, and then Steadfast should be nab 3 instead. You know, it should be an extension for what they do, as in like they exert a little bit harder when your life is low, right? So that's why Blade Dancer, like besides from the numbers of Blade Dancer, it's like, yeah, it's not a win con necessarily. It's basically, it makes this card more potent in its same effect. That's not necessarily a win con effect, right?
Yeah. Well, Iceborn Charmer probably encapsulates that.
Yeah.
Really well. Like she has an effect that generates you value, and then her Steadfast effect is an extension of the original effect.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be like a binary effect. So Aeons of Protector is probably another example of it, where it's like, yeah, it gets in a whole entire effect when it's like below 10. But like, yeah, it could have been something along the lines of like, you know, Steadfast, like fleeting spells you control cost 1 less or something. You know, it's just that sort of thing, yeah. Or Steadfast when you cast a spell, gain 1 mana or something like that, right? So it should be like in support of its main effect, or to like enhance it, right? Not to be like a complete win condition, which is what Pharaoh's Peacekeeper is, right? So we went a whole big loop around this whole the issues of Steadfast and Pharaoh's Peacekeeper. To be honest, Pharaoh's Peacekeeper, I don't think there's any way that you can play, there's no way that there should ever be a card to obliterate all your opponent's spells in hand, right?
Maybe there's a version of it that's like play this unit, remove 1 random spell from your opponent's hand, Steadfast, remove 2.
Yeah, it could be, alright, something like that would probably be fine, right? Something like that would probably be fine. I'm not sure about this whole strike the nexus part, but look, okay, so for example, Pharaoh's Peacekeeper could say something along the lines of it could be something very similar to Karina, right? So it's when it comes to the play, obliterate all the spells in top 5 cards in both players' decks, and then, you know, if you obliterate, 5 or something in total between the 2 decks, strike the nexus. Steadfast, you only need to obliterate 3 spells. Or or Steadfast, strike the nexus twice or something, right? So it should be an extension of what a card already does inherently. As for Pharaoh's Peacekeeper, this is one of those cards that I'll withhold judgment just because it's too binary or it's too polarizing in effect.
Okay.
Yeah. Next card is Silent Killer. It's a 6 cost 3/6. When I'm summoned, revive a random enemy as an ally and grant it ephemeral. Steadfast, grant me round start, revive a random enemy unit as an ally and grant it ephemeral. Okay. Yeah, so exactly. This is what Steadfast should be about. So the Steadfast is just an extension of its main ability, right? Not like a win con. I think this is fine. I'm not sure why it's called Silent Killer, to be honest. A guy that's reviving an enemy unit and granting ephemeral should be, Ghost Caller or Summoner of the Dead or some shit. Yeah. So he's not really a killer because he's not
Noisy
doing the killing.
Killer. He should be called Noisy Killer.
Well, he's not a killer because he's not the one doing the killing. He's summoning guys that are doing the killing. He's just Ghost HR or some shit. So the thing is, Silent Killer's he doesn't really seem like a killer because he's summoning guys. Okay, so that's just my nitpick against the name Silent Killer, right? Otherwise, the rest of this card looks fine. His health is probably a little bit high at 6, but there's quite a number of cards within most regions that have an effect. Have a guy that's similar to this. It's usually a 5 or 6 cost guy that just has a round start, do some sort of effect. So you have the Noxus guy that round start stun a guy, the Froyo chick that's round start like frostbite dude. So I guess Silent Killer, just summon a random enemy dude or something, right? So, yeah. So I think, so I think, yeah, I think its effect is in line with what Shadow Isles would do. Yeah, to be honest, its stats are a little bit high. Yeah, I think it needs to be more killable. At 6, it's a little bit high. It's maybe like a 3-5 sort of thing. Actually, it's a bit lower than that, considering you're getting something straight away. Yeah, considering you're getting something straight away, it should be something along the lines of like 2-4, 2-5 or something, right? Yeah, maybe a 2-4 or a 3-4 or something. Because like, yeah, because all right. So Rekindler is a 7 cost 3-3 or 3-4 4-4 4-4. Yeah, and it's a 7 cost and it revives a champion. So this is so this is a guy that can revive shit every turn. So its health should be way lower and it costs 1 less. Even though it's not recalling a champion, it's still recalling something every single turn. So this should be more in line with Rekindler's cost. With Rekindler's size. So it's like a 3-4 or something. But other than that, like I think it's pretty spot on. Maybe it should have immobile. I don't know. It depends on if it's like an acolyte type deal or something. But like, yeah. Other than the defense being a little bit too high, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Nice.
I probably wouldn't complicate too much at the card. I think it's fine without any kind of keywords or anything. I'd probably just reduce the stats. I'd keep the whole summoning ephemeral thing. I'd keep it all the same.
Yeah, like I think the effects are pretty much spot on. Yeah, just pull the stats down a little bit and you're good.
Yeah, I even think it's costed right. I like this card.
Yeah. I think it's pretty spot on. And final card is Star Mover, 6 cost 4-8. It's Challenger. On play, move your strongest ally to the top of your deck, I assume. Steadfast doublet stats.
So I don't really know what region this card's for. Like Star Mover kind of implies Targon.
Which might be what he's implying, because he's covered 1 card for every other region.
Yeah. But the purple aesthetic also kind of implies the void. But yeah. I don't know. I feel like the void would have some kind of swarmy mechanic if it ever came to the game. But like, I don't know. It's like, it's a region that doesn't exist, so we can't really judge it based on cards in the region.
Yeah, so it's hard to judge this one. On purely face value right now, it seems pretty bad. But there's probably some interesting combos you can do with it. Move your strongest ally to the top of your deck. So you have to replay the ally, but you doubled its stats. Some cards are probably really strong if you double their stats. Yeah.
So, Tusk Raider is considered the worst boat in the game. Tusk Raider's the Freljord one.
The Sejuani one, yeah.
Draws you Sejuani, doubles the stats of all the units in your deck.
Yeah.
Which you'd think would be a pretty bonkers effect, but it comes at a stage in the game where stats don't matter as much anymore. And also, you still need to draw into and play those cards.
Those dudes, yeah.
You get a massive Sejuani, but like the boat itself doesn't have, like the boat itself is 7/7, but it doesn't have any keywords, so it just kind of just gets chump blocked. Like if the boat had Overwhelm, it'd probably be pretty sick. It'd be punching through like huge damage, but the boat itself doesn't do anything. So I think Star Mover on its own and I think this actually, I'd go as far to say this whole card is 20 times better than Tusk Raider. I think it's way more playable than Tusk Raider. I think it's a better effect than Tusk Raider even. And it's also it's a tutor, right? So you can it's always going to pull the same unit in your deck to the top every single time.
All right, okay. You were reading this as move your strongest ally in your deck to the top of your deck. Okay. I was reading this as return a guy on your field to the top of your deck. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Okay, I was interpreting it differently. Okay, if it's move your strongest ally from your deck to the top of your deck, then yeah, that's stupidly good.
Okay. I was quite surprised when you said it was bad, but I kind of just played along because you're the smart one.
Yeah, well, I thought it was the other way around. Where like imagine how bad it is paying 6 to return a guy from your field back to the top of your deck just so you have to replay it again. That seems bad, right? So yeah, I thought it was that, but it's like, okay, if it tutors something from your deck to the top of your deck and doubles its stats, then that's pretty strong. Yeah, because it's because it means that if you can just play it on the following turns or whatever, and it guarantees like the following plays, this card is like really like probably too highly statted as well for a challenger unit. A 4 attack challenger unit with 8 health, it's just hard control. You just get to start picking off your opponents like mid range guys, and you've probably won the next turn as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean if your biggest unit is like this just humongously thick overwhelm unit. I think the one risk with making a card like this at 6, so like it has to be below 5 attack anyway, because otherwise it would just move like a second copy of itself to the top of the deck in a lot of scenarios.
That's not even that bad though. Being able to play a 4/16 on the following turn, that's a challenger. That doubles the stats of the next guy. Yeah.
It just keeps moving star movers to the top.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, it's still
what kind of cards would you play this guy with? Like a Darius? You put a like a 12-10 Darius on the top of the deck, and then he flips and
move your strongest ally to top of your deck.
It always goes by attack value first.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. You always choose something where it's limited by its stats, or it has some sort of multiplicative effect, right? Yeah. Off the top of my head, Star Mover. What would be good with it? I'm not sure off the top of my head. What would I want to like put the top with this guy? Double a guy's stats. A guy that fights a lot of times. Not sure actually. There's definitely something. I don't know. Chuck Ren Shadowblade or Jay Madara on top of some shit.
You'd be running such shit units in your deck. You couldn't tutor a unit that is smaller than this guy.
Yeah.
So like Jay wouldn't work, Ren Shadowblade wouldn't work. You couldn't do Yasuo with this card. Because otherwise he'd be drawing himself. So it would always be a 5 attack or higher unit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Nothing's coming to the top of my mind right away.
Like the most obvious thing would just be like a really big elusive or a really big like overwhelm unit, just so you can just like finish them off on the following turn.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, I guess that would be it. You know, pulling a Darius out or something. Star mover Darius.
Star
punch
Mover Darius.
right through. It depends on if it doubles his flip stats as well. If it doubles his flip stats...
So he has to already be flipped to go to like 20 attack.
Okay.
So like his base stats will get doubled, and then he would just flip and like gain the 4 attack back.
Okay.
So on his front side, he would be like 12-10.
Yeah, okay. There's some interesting cards, but like, yeah. Ash might not be too... Oh, actually, like 10-6 is still not fantastic. Yeah, I'm not sure, actually.
You might even be right just using this to tutor Sejuani.
Yeah, that's... Yeah,
like, if you don't have Sejuani on turn 6, you can play Star Mover, and then just, like...
Pull it to the top, she becomes big, she's got Overwhelm, so she just punches through.
And she's got a great on-play effect.
Yeah.
Like, you could use this guy just to, like, tutor your big win cons, or your, like, really important big champion.
Yeah. It's,
I guess Bjerg already kind of does that, but Bjerg is more limited in that, like, it's always a 5 or more unit. So you're not guaranteed to get, like, Sejuani if you're also running, like, I don't know, just, like, something else in the deck.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, this card is probably too strong. Yeah, okay. Steadfasting it and doubling its stats. Doubling the stats might be a little bit too much. Like, steadfasting it and maybe giving it +2/+2 might be okay.
Even +3/+3, I think, is fine. It's a 6-cost card. There's an Allegiance guy in Freljord that gives a top unit of your deck.
+3/+3 Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And
of course, it is hard to judge purely because we don't know what the other cards in its region look like. But I'm sure you knew that when you made the card, so...
Yeah. Yeah. Also, its stats too high for being a challenger. Its health needs to go down.
He's got 1 additional point of health on a... Oh no, he's got Thresh flip stats.
Yeah. And he's got a really good effect.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So his power needs to go down. Like, having fresh stats of like 3/6 is probably fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. So I think this card. Yeah, it's kind of withhold judgment on this card just because like we have no clue within this whole archetype or whole region what it's going to play out. But at this stage, this kind of looks a little bit too strong.
I still like it though.
Yeah, I like the effect. And I think there should be more tutor effects in the game. Yeah.
And it does sort of hit that idea of the Steadfast being an extension of the original effect.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's your vision or whatever. It's kind of just our take on it. But things very much for sending the cards in. Really enjoyed looking over these ones. Because they're interesting and they're a bit more unique to Runeterra, right?
Yeah. Like, so, Lays, don't get me wrong. We're not criticizing you. Or criticizing your cards. It's just like, I guess we're just talking about it from a design perspective. So, it's like, yeah, if writers were making games within a Riot office, this is how they would kind of be talking about ideas. You know, it's never like an attack on a person contributing to ideas. It's just really analyzing, how would these cards fall into a gameplay perspective, a design perspective, and within the product. So I think probably the biggest takeaway is what we looked at about Steadfast, being it should be like more of an extension of a card as opposed to it being a win con. Yeah.
Okay. That's all the cards we had to look at today. And I think that's probably a good place to finish. We have gone over the 2-hour mark. As we normally do. And we got shit to do today, so got to peace out. But thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Please like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed and would like to see more. And also check out the playlist for all the other FUNSMITH podcasts. And that's all.
GrandJason out. Huh.